At this time, I'm going to bring back up our CEO, Leilani Cawthon, and she is going to lead a panel discussion around analytics. Janell McClure from Cobb County Schools. Janell, come on. And Rob Bixler. Rob is with Orange County Public Schools in Orlando, Florida. And Dr. Jasna Aleifendic with Garland ISD. So come on up.
So we had our analytics talk this morning. You guys were part of that. Janell has already alerted me that I can't ask too serious of questions about things maybe like coding and stuff. Although you probably know more than almost everyone. Yeah, no?
You shouldn't have given me a microphone.
Yeah, I shouldn't have given you a microphone.
I don't code it myself, though. I mean, we have partners that help us with the development piece.
Yes, yes. So you've said. Mm-hmm. But the process has been very secretive in Cobb County, to me, at least. I don't know how many other people in the room have been asking her all about it, but you've built custom your LMS, and so you've had to go down the journey of talking about how do you guys teach, what do you use, and then building sort of a construct of analytics for feedback to the district, right? So you've had to think that all through. So I just want to ask you to maybe speak a little bit about the journey. I'm going to ask you guys to talk about the journeys in your school too, because the analytics journey is I think, a journey of figuring out how to make sense of data. It's very simple.
Well, and back to the definition of data.
Yeah.
Right? So in a public education, we say data, we instantly think of scores and numbers and tests and assessments. And I think when you're moving more into this personalized learning, for lack of a better expression at this point, that we all strive to accomplish for our kids, I think we have to start shifting our perspective on data, because it's the qualitative analytics, in my opinion, that's going to truly impact our ability to meet the needs of our kids. And although the quantitative, of course, there's always a place for that, and it's always very helpful, we're going to have to start measuring our kids in numbers. So it becomes the challenge then on us, which is kind of the path we're on right now, or at least in this phase of this 3 to 5 year journey that we're on with developing our digital platform, is now that we have this teacher piece, when we start to look at the student and parent piece, and we really start looking at how we ingest content and use content to help support that personalized learning, then what analytics are going to be necessary to determine not only what's best for the child, but also a sustainability piece, right? So is that content really valuable? If you look at it from that management side, is the content valuable? Is it being used? Is it effective? And then also in terms of, how are we measuring our students' success when it's no longer going to necessarily be a quantitative piece? I think one of the questions we continue to struggle with, and I'm sure others would echo, is that engagement is another one of those words you hear all of the time, but how do you measure it? And so I think there's a whole nother piece of analytics in regards to, if you go back to our committee work, the user experience.
Yep. Good journey. Good.
Yeah, thanks.
Rob.
So for Orange County, when we talked about analytics, I think part of what we always have to kind of keep in the forefront is analytics. The word analytics by itself is to gather information to make informed decisions. And I think what you have sometimes is the word data and analytics kind of mesh together. And in many districts, analytics or data become compliance. It's simply here's what I need, give me numbers. And so what we're trying to do in Orange County is actually use analytics to make informed decisions about what needs to be done next. Looking at patterns, looking at usage data.
That's predictive analytics.
Correct.
Yeah,
and so I think in many ways that's a culture shift for schools to not simply report data.
Yeah.
Because X amount of percentage of kids are on target for graduation. X percent amount of kids have met mastery in X, Y, and Z. And so I think for us on this side, the teaching and learning piece side of the house, it's using data and analytics to predict and to make informed decisions and to sometimes not use vendors, As an example, we use data to look at, we've had stuff in our district for decades. And when you do an ROI and you find out that, out of 13,000 employees, 20 people use it, and you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars because it's always been around, that's a shift in how you use analytics and data to make informed decisions.
I like it. Okay, Jasna.
Well, obviously, analytics is not possible without the data, but I think the most important piece is that we have reliable data so that all of the components that we need to have to analyze and to base our decisions on analytics, we need to have that reliable data so that affect our school districts, our schools, our teachers, and our students. What's happening at one district does not necessarily mean it will work in the others. So that reliability and the relevance of the data affects the analytics process itself, and therefore the decision.
I like it. Okay, cool. So I'll ask the next question. You guys pick up your mics as you go. I want to make a comment with my question. Of course, this is normal for me. Having just listened to Zia Learning, it reminded me of a lesson that I had years ago about the difference between binary logic, which is, sort of ones or twos or black or white, right? There's only two-party system, all that stuff goes on in mankind, and infinity-based logic, which gets into the qualitative thing. And I almost feel that what's happening right now in America at these big districts and others is that we are at a tipping point of using enough technology to drive us out of what machines can do, which is all binary logic. It's if this, then that, black or white, ones or twos, or zeros or ones, right? Into a level where we can start using infinity-based logic, which is there's many choices and there's many paths. And not every kid is going to be self-driving or autonomous. Certainly not every teacher is self-driving or autonomous, right? It's a state of mankind thing. There's infinite variety, right? So I just want your comments on what you see happening because you're going to use more data. Does it feel like because you're leaning on that dual logic universe, you're able to move into much more diversity and quality and those kinds of conversations? That's a pretty complex question, but I think you know where I'm going. Yeah. Does everybody follow that? You need more coffee? That was a little intense, but okay.
That's kind of deep, I have to say.
Yeah.
Talking about Orange County in particular, our motto is 1-to-1 by 21. So we're a district of about 208,000 students right now. Next year, all middle school and high school students will have 1-to-1 devices they take home back and forth. And then the 3 years after that, all elementary schools will have 1-to-1 device and they stay in the classroom. So that comment about how education is going to change for Orange County, that's what we're dealing with is how do you provide that professional development, that real-time learning with an LMS, focus on personalized learning. And personalized learning, to the speaker before, that is a challenge because personalized learning, by the word personalized, makes it more difficult because that's part of the challenge is making it personalized. And so, part of the ongoing struggle I think that districts have as they make that transition to 1-to-1 or more digital devices in the classroom. And just so I can be clear, digital for us isn't just a device. We are also wholesale making upgrades to the campuses with touchscreens, with audio enhancement, microphones. So it's a digital conversion over the next several years. And so PD, professional development, becomes very important to help teachers make that change from stand and deliver to letting kids make those pathways. And so that's an ongoing, and I will say expensive, endeavor. Professional development is not cheap, but it has to be sustained over many, many, many years. We're in our 5th year of the Launch Dev program, in our beginning of our 5th year. And so, we still have a long way to go, and we've been doing it for many years, but it's that ongoing and continual commitment to professional development over and over and over again.
Yep. Yeah, but you're going in the direction of that quality, that infinite humanity side that is, I think that's the issue that I'm talking about. And if you're evolving to that, that's the nirvana. That's
Well,
where
and,
you're going.
and part of that becomes how do you use those analytics to help you drive the professional development? Because now
Yeah.
on our part, although I'm in charge of pre-K through 12 instruction and curriculum and the digital rollout, I've got to use as back-end analytics, I know, of whatever comes my way, and that's where
Yeah.
vendors help by giving us data that we can look at and make informed decisions on professional development, where are we seeing weaknesses, and helping, boost PD, not make it blanket, but make it individualized and differentiated as needed.
Yeah, yeah. You wanna go next? Yeah.
I think I'm touching on a little bit of what Jasna said a minute ago, where you have to have the data in order to have the analytics, which of course is profound, actually, when you think about it. Sometimes it's that
Yeah.
simplicity, right, that you're like, oh, that's true. I think
Yeah.
it's the data that you're collecting that's changing. And to address your question, or at least I think I'm addressing your question,
Yeah.
because that was really rather complex.
Yeah.
I think the data turns back to what is it Jeff that was saying earlier? I think his name is Jeff,
Yeah.
where it's about that social emotional learning piece, and it's about the individual child.
Mhm.
And so I think, the approach at this point is that you're building these user and student profiles where you're collecting a different type of data now. And that data is what's going to inform their learning, and that data is what's going to then inform the content that is prescribed to them via whatever form that is. And it's really going to individualize their learning experience as a whole whenever they're with us, and not just focusing in specifically on the assessment data that we all have to use. I mean, it's imperative. You've got to use that data to inform your decisions and your instruction, and hence the reason why our district started with an assessment system, because you've got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
But I think where we're going is identifying those individual human qualities, so that also is playing a role in their learning experience. And what we're finding right now is that that's all about metadata.
Yep.
That's
It's a very interesting evolution.
It really is.
It's you can feel that you're evolving, right? Like you're discarding some things, you're now using these, you're needing to collect that. It's an evolution. We're all growing up. Is this awesome or what? Jasna.
I completely agree. We are collecting the data and we are identifying individual students. We know what they're doing, how they perform, but yet every once in a while, something wonderful like that flex time that's embedded in schedule, which I think is fabulous. Is it Brad who did that, or?
No, Lammersville, yeah.
I think that
These people, yeah.
that is absolutely amazing. We plain and simple forget about that human need that all of us need, actually.
Yeah.
We need students just like we do. They need to have their own time to grow. Whether that is just sitting in that beanie bag, and looking at the ceiling, or texting with a friend, or maybe catching up on homework, or finishing a book that they want to finish and cannot concentrate on work because the book is so amazing. They want to see the end of the book. So I think that analytics is helping us identify those major academic needs for students, but also we need not to forget about that human aspect that's so important for
Yeah.
our students
Yeah.
and for us.
It's the quality improvement that's so
Quality
exciting.
improvement, absolutely.
Yes, yes. And I want to thank you for running our learning gaming group, by the way. And you've been running our UX one. This is very far ahead work. And this is absolutely important bedrock work, because as I see the conversation move forward across the whole market, this analytics piece is going to rest on those bedrocks, and the Carla and Bricious work on terms, the bedrock of that work is going to allow more people to understand and move forward with this quality of analytics conversation. Just like Zia Learning was just talking about, that moving everybody forward requires a very simple, let's show you exactly what we do mean, I mean, women running around for 10 years talking about, yeah, blended, personalized, it's awesome, and then nobody defined it. It was like, what? So now that people are digging in and doing the real gritty work. So that leads me to my next question, which is, what's the high-level point that you see analytics going? Because you've been looking down the road because you're building it. You guys are already applying some of it. You guys are in the middle of cleaning up data probably, right? So where is this going to take you? Where do you really want to go?
I think I can start. For the learning gaming piece, no groups, I think we would like to learn we would like to get the data that tells us what motivates students, what motivates those young people that spend so much time.
Yeah.
And so much energy, and what makes them thrive to progress in the game. And based on that data, we want to know how we can use that to empower our instruction, how we can utilize those that power of video games to help our students succeed in learning process. What can they do? What can they learn? And actually, what's happening right now in the games? It's such a open field for all of the young folks, but for the educators, there is such a it's like a nightmare when you mention a video game to somebody who is in administration a little bit longer. They all have that blank face. Please do not ask me anything. I don't want to know about that because that's exactly.
Yeah.
People don't want to learn, and we all fear what we don't understand. That's plain and simple. So just to get a little bit more data, a little bit more understanding will help us approach students to the fields that they understand, that they feel comfortable with, and therefore help them utilize their tools to learn.
Yeah, perfect.
Actually, I think she said it best. I mean, I think if you look, for me, a panacea would be, and I'll use a story or a little, visual, is I like analytics to be able to help us tell us how or what it would take to see classrooms that look like a makerspace area in a media center. When you've got kids who come in on a teacher workday at an at-risk high school to sit in a media center and do makerspace with putting things together and using Sphero little coding robots,
Yeah.
That's what every classroom should look like. And so using data analytics to figure out what makes them like those things and how can we gather information and begin to use that with teachers to show, listen, look at what we're finding, look at what you can do in your Algebra 1 classroom, your US history classroom, your biology classroom, that this innovative, creative personalized learning can be done. Look what happens right here. And we have that. That's one of our missions at the district, is to begin to explore more makerspaces in the media centers, because we're finding that kids absolutely love to do that, and that's rigorous. That's creativity. That's rigorous. That's higher order thinking. Mm-hmm. You want to see that personalized look begin to transition to those traditional. She said, stand up and teach the content. She's right. We've got to transition and transform those classrooms to look like that. That's what I want analytics to help us become across our district.
Excellent.
And I think I just say that I see this analytics as, how do we know we're successful? How do you measure success? How do you know that you're meeting the needs of these kids, so that, how do we define success and how do we measure success? Mm-hmm. So if the idea of shifting our approach to teaching and learning so that everything is more individualized to the child, then how do we know when we're successful? And to me, that's the analytics that we're looking for, is that how do you define success for that individual? How do you measure that success? And then how do you ensure that you are allowing them to be successful by the time that they leave us? And I think big picture, that's what we're looking to accomplish.
That's great. That's a really nice, succinct way to put it. I like it. Did you want to say something else to
I was
that?
just going to say, I mean, I think, I agree. I think we've got to look at, what should the outcome be? And I think for us, former superintendent sitting in, in the room, I think part of it is sometimes, it is sometimes that data piece where you're closing the achievement gap, that you're underprivileged, you're making advancement. And so we have to figure out why that's not happening, and if personalized learning and changing the way we interact with our students can make them more engaged in learning. I think that's where analytics can help us also. So you're right. What should the analytics and the data help us do? Well, for us, we want to close that achievement gap. We can't have students, leaving our district or leaving to go into the workforce or into college not having those skills. And so we want them engaged in rigorous coursework. It's just those kind of things.
Exactly. Or like Ben does, they already have a AA degree by the time they graduate.
Absolutely.
Super awesome stuff. Okay, cool. So I don't know how much more time I have. You're going to have to give me a time signal, but should we open it up to questions from? Good. We have time for lots of questions and people to interact. Is that cool with you guys? Okay, cool. So ask away. We're up here to talk about analytics and how they're in use, what the future holds, that kind of stuff. So questions from the audience.
This is a question for Jasna.
Yes.
You're looking at gamification, right, of curriculum. What tools are you using in analytics, and where are you looking specifically? Because I teach 5th grade, and I got 14 boys in my class, so I know all about video games. I'm a gamer. I grew up as a gamer, and so I understand the importance for video games, especially in the 21st century. So who are you looking at, and are you partnering with any big companies like Ubisoft or EA or Activision to gather that metadata?
Absolutely. We do have a person on our team. Her name is Susie
Wilskinski, really hard name. She's the CEO of Digit Games.
Yes, and she received a huge grant. As a matter of fact, that is the first grant given by
National Science Foundation.
National Science Foundation that for that purpose. And she is actually going to do, I believe, 2-year study to see what we can find out about that. She is absolutely amazing, fabulous, and she's sick today, but I so wish
Yeah, she was
that
going to be
she's
here today.
She's, but please feel free to join our NOS group and just participate in our conversation, because we would like to learn more from the teachers who are actually with students every day and know what they think and see their engagement in video games. So Susie and myself and David and Lailani, and we had some other people.
Like Ben Batstone, who was at
yes,
Disney.
Ben.
He's now at THQ, one of the other big, game studios. Yeah.
So we have a group of people, and all of us are working together trying to see what really motivates our students. And once we have the data, we would like to see if we could maybe make some what Beatrice called demands from people who create the games, or maybe make some standards for educational games, because the market is huge and students are already using the products, but we just want to adjust those products to serve our needs, and our needs are based on our subject areas. Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you'd be willing to talk about motivation. I mean, you talked a little bit about student motivation there, but motivating staff and other people within the district to utilize the analytics that is being done. How do you go about motivating that utilization?
Oh, when you mentioned that, I immediately had a picture of what I call a data room at one of our campuses, and it really looks like a data room. The principal just received like zillion of those sticky notes, from teachers telling him, okay, this is what good happened in my classroom, or this is what's bad in my classroom. So they actually started collecting their own data that's not related on a product, that's not related on a specific subject, and they built like a huge wall one of their lounge rooms, and actually started keeping the track of those great and bad things happening. So when they have even color-coded elementary school, obviously.
Sticky notes. These are sticky notes.
Sticky notes.
This is so high-tech. It's awesome.
So high-tech, yes, but there's an app for that.
Yeah.
You know that there is an app for that. If you take a picture, it will immediately put it in a spreadsheet and organize it for you. You know,
No way.
there is, yes, they're absolutely beautiful. So what they see is they see the growth of that specific child with all the strategies that a teacher has received, and the teachers, what they did, the other teachers, they actually put their suggestions. You know, once in a while you're going to have a little Johnny who's making whole bunch of issues for your classroom, and you will try all of the strategies that you have learned, but you're out of the ideas. So somebody who's a seasoned teacher or somebody who's straight from the school, you know, but has learned a new technique, will actually put that technique on the sticky note and make suggestion. So there is a whole bunch of ways that teachers can be motivated, but this is the one that immediately popped to my mind, because I think that's like a beautiful way. You know, it doesn't take teachers to immediately, they don't take their laptops when they go to lunch. You know, they just chat, but principal has put the sticky notes, so when they talk and, oh, that's a great idea, I can put that on the wall and get some data, so they can really see the progress of their, what they call, or could be, troubled child that grow up in something absolutely wonderful. So there is a success.
No.
We do the same thing from elementary through high school. We have data walls in the schools where, you know, the teams go to look at data and make moves and assist students. So I won't talk about that piece. I will say something a little additional. Talk about motivating teachers using Backend Analytics. We rolled out our brand new LMS this year to our LaunchDad schools, and so obviously part of success of an LMS is actually people using it. And so we were using Backend Analytics to take a look at who was using it the most, and then going in and having my curriculum instruction team go and look at the content in the LMS to make sure it was quality. And then what we did is we highlighted them and we called them Share the Awesome videos. We would go out and interview that teacher, make a video of them using the product, and then I'm also in charge of the instructional management system that's involved with all teachers. So we put it up on their instructional management system. We have videos of our own teachers using our product. So there's crafty ways to use analytics also to help push the cause. But over the course of the year, we've been pushing out Share the Awesome videos of these high-end, these high-use teachers of our LMS. That's quality to help, again, motivate others to use it as well. So we do that as well, and this is something different, but we use those analytics as well.
And nothing really inspires teachers more than being praised in front of their peers. You know, when they hear that a teacher is doing a great job with analyzing the data and making some progress based on that, so everybody will want to do the same thing just because they want to receive that email from principal or get their star on the wall, even though we don't think that they don't like that, they really do. They care about that.
Sure
Oh, yeah.
do. Oh, you have one, sorry.
I think just in the analytics that I can speak to as far as that is just the assessment system that was developed in our district. That's probably the best example that I have right now, and it's been developed over the last 3 years or so, and of course continues to be. But I'd say that the way that we motivated them to use it was because it was just so simplistic. It was at their fingertips. It was real-time data. They didn't really have to go anywhere else or do anything else to be able to see immediately how their students were performing. And I think it's just that ease of use and that availability that is what motivates them more, because they don't have any more time. So the fact that they can just sit at their desk in their classroom while they're planning, or even while the kids are still there, and look at that real-time data, I think is definitely a motivating factor for them.
Yeah. I think you're also looking at a market where, from a teacher perspective, when you hear the sticky note stories and stuff like that, you have to look at Janell's work coming up in user experience, because we've made it really hard to do data entry for a lot of educators. I mean, you guys can probably speak to that. I mean, our survey is showing that, you know, the teachers have an average of between 25 and 75, and I think last time we checked, the average was 50 logins. And a lot of those are systems, right? So they're not just, I'm logging into courseware. And it's a lot of data entry. I mean, the burden in education is off the charts in comparison to healthcare or banking or finance. I mean, the average corporation gives their employees 2 to 3 logins. The HR system, the Salesforce system, and maybe one other. But the numbers for teachers is just huge, and they're expected to do all this data entry. So what I'm hoping to hear from the industry, psst, all you LMS guys, is voice entry. I would like to be able to click a button on my phone if I was a teacher and go, note, you know, it automatically says to me, note, yes, who, right? Johnny Garner, good, blah, 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 note. And it automatically puts it behind Johnny Garner's as a sticky note, like that, right? Like, why don't we have that? So I think part of the issue with analytics is gonna be, you're gonna see technology edge way up, because voice recognition software is coming way along, and data entry is insane. You know, it's insane. Anyway, you guys want to comment on that a little bit?
Well, part of data entry, you're right. I mean, so part of what, some of the things that we're trying to do on the teacher perspective to limit the number of logins and things they have to do is we have a single sign-on portal, actually it's through ClassLink, called Launchpad, where as we go out for bid with new contracts, they're required to do the single sign-on portal.
Yeah.
And so that's allowing a teacher to log in one time and have access to everything.
Yeah.
HR, all those kind of things. That's been a huge, huge success. Talking about analytics, we get the feedback on that.
Yeah.
It's been huge for our district. I think we have over 300,000 hits per day. It's just, it's amazing.
That's great.
And so, but you're right, we are looking for elementary school students who, for those kindergartners who have to log in, even logging in is difficult.
Yeah.
So can we come up with facial recognition to log them in, or a scan, or a cue card to log in?
I think ClassLink has both of those.
They do have
things,
both.
yeah.
I don't want to give them a plug, but yeah, they do. And so, you know, but you're right, there are ways that we're trying to use data and automatically upload information into a teacher's, database, and all those back-end, and all those back-end data syncs that we're trying to do, trying to find ways to eliminate and kind of pare down those hours wasted, doing data entry kind of tasks and not actually teaching kids. And you're right, it's becoming, we hear that over and over. My day is paperwork, my day is
onerous.
Onerous,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And the goal is to take that off so they can do what they love to do,
Yeah.
which is teach kids.
Human, yeah.
Exactly.
Do you want to say something?
Well, I was just thinking through that, because I'm trying to think through, where the data entry, I think it comes down to what data is it that we're entering, and why are we having to enter it? So I think I'd have some additional questions as to what exactly it is that we're having to enter. So if you look at grades, just because it's just the first thing that comes to your mind, right?
Yeah.
Is having been a teacher, obviously, we all know that entering grades takes a while. But so what assessments, I guess I'd have to go, that to me, that's a conversation that goes back even deeper than, well, what is it we're grading, and how are we assessing our kids, and why are we the ones doing it? Why are they not doing it? Why aren't they the ones that are showing their mastery of knowledge, and them then proving what they've learned? And then how do you enter that? And, again, where do all the systems start to work together through the metadata so that some of this is automated?
Yes.
So I don't
Where's
know.
the magic, is what you're saying. Why
Where
is it so
the
hard?
magic? Why are we having to develop it ourselves?
Yeah,
People.
people,
Out there. Where are you,
systems.
vendors? God.
Yeah, so, question? Yeah, ready, shoot, go now. Yeah,
So first part of flexibility, I think in 15 years-ish, students will be their most. And then the part that's I would discussion is from an analytical standpoint, how do you measure them?
you trying to stump us, is that what you're doing? Yeah, it's a great question. We're gonna go, they're going, go.
We talked about that on our committee yesterday.
Yeah.
It is a great question. So I'll give you all a chance to respond, because we talked about it some yesterday.
Well, as a technology applications coordinator, I obviously would say that coding is the skill of the future, actually of the present. I don't know if you guys have seen that Amazon is actually looking for new headquarters. And I learned just a few days ago that they are taking out of equation all the towns or all the cities that have put proposals that do not have computer science for K-12. Imagine that. So that's telling me that even businesses, industry is looking for young brains to know just a little bit more about coding, not just the basics. And I guarantee you there are so many kids that do not even know the basics. So what I'm thinking is coding is most definitely one of those skills that will need to be taken into consideration as we move forward.
Yeah, super short, we're like at time, yeah.
This is simple. I really have no idea. Because I wouldn't have thought 5 years ago or 6 years ago that I would watch a kindergartner code a bebot and make it code. So, I would have, walking into a kindergarten classroom watching a kindergartner code something, I would have never expected that.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen in 15 years that happened in the last 5? I don't know. Because we are expanding so quickly.
Super
But kids
fun.
adapt fast. It's the adults that have a hard time adapting. The kids adapt pretty quick.
Yeah, it's true.
So just to share with you what we talked about in our committee meeting yesterday is it's the human piece that will never go away. You're always going to need to be a critical thinker. You're always going to need to be able to have deductive reasoning skills. You're always going to need to know how to learn to do something. And if it's Googling a YouTube video, that's fine. But you've always got to have the skills where you can find answers and make decisions. And I think it's really more into that whole child approach and that social emotional piece that it is that we're going to make sure that we focus on, because that will never ever go away as long as we're breathing.
Yep. So be prepared for anything. Some things never change. I got it. Woo! That was awesome. Let's give them a big hand. Thank you guys so much. Okay, thank you.